much affected from that standpoint. However, we can say that in past 10 years, Japanese economy almost never experienced inflation. It
Yeah,
was
that's right. It was very stagnant for a long time.
Stagnating a lot. So this was also impact here. And having said that, what happened is that all those global companies, big four global, whether it is Google, Apple, Amazon, as well as other digital giants from social media as well, they all saw that people, due to increase in price of goods, they need to make a choice between whether they will pay the bills, buy the food, or have both Disney Plus and Netflix, or just one is enough. So I said that's why. So the demand for digital products decreased in a way. So let's be honest, and also plus metaverse. Like we had Zuckerberg just a couple of weeks or a month ago said like, we are going to focus on WhatsApp and Messenger as our stream.
Versus metaverse.
Metaverse. Like Meta what?
Yeah.
No, I'm just joking. I believe that metaverse will be in coming years more important, though it's not in a way that was intended at the beginning, like everyone having goggles being in the virtual world. I think it will have applications more, whether in medical field, as well as some fields that we are not even expecting to have. So I see future for it, definitely a big one, but not the one that all of us think it will be.
I agree with that. And we actually had a podcast recently where we were talking to Joshua Grant from Dentsu about this also. What he kind of highlighted there was like what you were saying, that cost for entry is so high. So like for the consumer level products, it's going to be specialized for a long time. And so I do think that what you mentioned there with like the application in the medical field, with even some of our clients that we've seen, that's happening now. And so I do think that that kind of touches on part of what I wanted to talk about today too, where even though we are seeing these layoffs from these major companies, there are going to be newer jobs that are opening maybe in fields like medicine. And even though it was like specifically like tech that was affected, like there are still tech jobs in other fields, maybe outside of those digital services that we're used to seeing them in.
Yeah, definitely. And I would say, when some doors closes, others opens, and there is opportunity for more or less smaller players now to come into a market, because the big ones are focusing on stabilizing situation, and that's one side. On the other side, like just one of the things why all this happened. Like on one side, we had problems with supply chain. We understand that global geopolitical situation is unstable currently due to known reasons, and for that case, we had also recently announced that Taiwanese TSMC, biggest chip manufacturer, will invest $40 billion in Arizona for opening new factory. So we are having also that shift. Japan, on the other side, is also entering in that semiconductor area. That will also bring new investments, and that, in fact, will help as well other industries to grow. So due to the supply chain problems that we experienced, e-commerce itself, like Amazon and even local here, Rakuten, Mercari as well, we had a slower delivery to customers, in fact, and higher prices. So that was also another impact. But what that means also that now they might be open for smaller vendors, merchants to go online, accept that more local deliveries and local products and services. That's one opportunity. Another opportunity that we saw is that de facto Japan itself, and if you're talking about the Japanese market, we are lacking around 4 or 5 years in digital transformation comparing to the world. I'm talking about that US, Europe, even Latin America. So what is going on is that for the next year, a lot of job opportunities will be in those I would say consulting digital transformation sphere, as well as IT system integrator companies, as all those behemoths of corporations like Sony, Hitachi, Fujitsu, as well as they need to transform. They need to adopt new technology, as well as that affected also other aspects. And we are jumping here from topic to topic, but do you remember, Brian, like how was it in 2020? Like pandemic started, we were all back home. So and can you compare, in your opinion, what's the situation today? Like,
which I think we're getting to something that's really good also, where the market has really shifted from one that was very maybe traditional is the word I would use, very in office, fax machine based. I don't know if it's in the frame, but we have a fax machine here, and paper based. And even now, like with our internal HR documents, a lot of those are done via email, via DocuSign, whereas I know before, at the beginning of the pandemic, when like right before things really got settled or shifted, I had to change my daughter's kindergarten, and we had to get the paper physically at the office, and it was like a big hassle like at that time. And so it is, a lot of things have already started to shift. And I do think you're right. I do think a lot of those bigger companies are going to be making those steps in that direction, and it's a continuous process. And so although the other thing that I want to touch on is that yes, Amazon and Twitter, obviously, and Netflix have a huge presence in Japan, but even in America, it's not. There's a lot of jobs that are obviously impacted by this, but there's also a lot of that, like you mentioned, those smaller players that are still around and still growing, and will still be hiring. And in Japan, it's a lot of that market growth was driven by those big players here in tech, but I think a lot of jobs are still held by brick and mortar, mom and pop stores, local stores in Japan, smaller vendors, as you were mentioning.
Yeah, definitely. When we are talking about those SMBs, small and medium enterprises, that has to be the case. And Japan has a lot of those small family-owned businesses. On the other side, like one of the things that I was alluding, in 2020, just let's see big transformation. What happened is suddenly everyone was working remotely. No more working from the office, that traditional. And then you had a shift in mindset. And I remember back then, say like everything changed forever. Like we are not coming back to old ways. However,
here we are,
2022, is that people realized working from home is not good either.
Yeah, it's not like viable, I think, for everything all the time. Yeah.
Definitely. I mean, those extremes never work out.
Yeah.
So what we are having right now is that, you cannot work in different countries. You need to be regionally, I would say, located. Like you don't need to be very close living to your office or come every day. But 30, 40, 50% of the time, you want to come to office. You want to meet your colleagues, you want to meet your clients. So whether you're engineer, sales, or whoever, you need to work in vicinity. In our case here would be Kanto region. So you need to live in Kanto region, you cannot work and live in Osaka. So that would be one of the new realities that we are encountering.
I totally agree. Yeah, and one of the things that I've noticed now with a lot of the people who entered the job market in this pandemic was that they have felt more isolated because of the remote work, and they don't feel maybe as connected to their coworkers as they had in the past or as they expected to when they joined the team. And so having that shift now, maybe like initially it was like everyone was remote and that was going to be the new normal, but that kind of shift maybe to more hybrid or in office, we're definitely seeing that kind of echo through the market here in Japan.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we are humans. We need to have human relations, and it's not what Musk thinks. I disagree with him, but who am I to disagree? I'm just joking on that. But definitely, what we have seen in the market recently, as recruiters, is that more and more companies saying like, yes, we are having hybrid and flex time, but we would want to see those people sometimes in the office, because you cannot be alienated from your coworkers. You need to be member. It's not purely gig economy where you are like thousands of miles away and you are working on some portal or on some translation. You need to have that human touch, whether you are engineer or sales. That is the fact, and that's what I believe will be happening next year, and that is the digital transformation. So if you are working both in office and remotely, you need to have infrastructure that supports that. You need to have apps that can make your life easier when you're working, whether it is software or whatever the case is. So we need to have dual mostly capabilities to be successful in years to come. So it's more vibrant, and I'm looking forward to see what's going to happen, honestly, once we are over this global economic tectonic changes.
For sure. And so kind of going back to that recession that you're feeling as far as tech, what do you see as maybe being the industries that were impacted the most, but then also that have the potential to have those maybe residual kind of quakes moving into Q1 2023, and then you don't have to predict until the end of next year, but kind of what's your feeling generally right now?
Definitely. We mentioned those digital services, products, social medias. That has been impacted. Now, I believe that in a couple of months or quarters by Q2, things are going to stabilize. But we are going to experience financial sector crisis. I would say traditional financial sectors in terms of banks and other as interest rates raise. So what's going to happen? In every crisis, you are having also some industries that are growing. Like till now, we had also some impacts on payment industry, trans-border payments. It became a bit more difficult. Like PayPal globally was also on a hiring freeze as well, and there was some layoffs with similar companies, as we know, like big companies like Stripe, PayPal, and so on.
Shopify.
It gives you that in e-commerce, like large corporations. It's seeable. But what we don't see that next year, you have those localities, and whether it is like wallets. Digital wallets are getting more and more increased. Like people, it's annoying to use your wallet everywhere.
Yeah.
So in Japan, we have companies like Paydi, PayPay. But what I see will really grow next year, and they are accustomed, they flourish during the crisis, is BNPL.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
Buy now, pay later. Yeah. And some of the clients that we work with, like SmartPay, they are the first one in Japan that they have both direct banking and credit card banking as a BNPL. So they will definitely grow, and I believe that sector will flourish during the crisis. So that's my bet.
I totally agree. I think, I think we've even kind of seen in America, as you're mentioning, there's kind of a delay between the U.S. and Japan, and so in America, I know that the holiday spending was actually like at a record high through Thanksgiving weekend, through Black Friday, Cyber Monday, and even in that's including like Prime Day 2 and all those other kind of promotions that we've seen. And I think a part of that is coming from the buy now, pay later, credit spending. People are still willing to spend money, even though they're hearing about all this inflation, all this like layoffs, potential recession. And I think a lot of that is because of the ease of use of apps like SmartPay here in Japan and others in the States. And so I do think that, I think that sector is going to grow quite a bit. And so I think that if you are looking for a job in tech in Japan, it's definitely a place to look to. Any other maybe high-level trends that you see happening?
I would say energy and tech sector, like so because of diversification of energy markets, whoever sees that we are going to go full green is in delusion, I would say. It's not possible, like for numerous reasons. There is not enough resources to do that, and even if today we start using all like electrical cars, what we are going to do with existing ones.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's simply not possible. But there is trend of investments in renewable energies, especially in Japan, also in wind energy, and there are wind farms offshore and onshore building up, and some big players from France came recently and opened up their business here. So that's one side, like energy and technology sector will be, and also diversifying or democratizing energy supplies. And then you have a lot of players, like you as a buyer will have choices whom to choose to use. Like for now we are using all TAPCO, and probably we are going to continue, but there will be some other players that we can do as well. So whether it is solar and so on, and I see that area growing. Also consultancy area, consulting businesses, management consulting, as well tech consulting, those will grow tremendously in Japan, because we are having new policies implemented, how to make all those digital products more understanding by local people, citizens, because Japan has a growing nation. You can believe, while your kid, my kid, they are native to all gadgets, all apps, everything digital. Our parents aren't. So, you know, things needs to be accustomed to them and easily. So there are a lot of efforts to do that as well. So yeah, I'm not afraid for Japan, honestly speaking. I believe that a lot of businesses will come here because we have infrastructure, we have long-lasting stability, and you know, predictability. So those are important for the businesses, and I will see a lot of businesses from Europe, from US will continue coming here. So
nice. Yeah. So just to kind of recap quickly, areas that you see growth potentially are DX. Finance, some finance, buy now, pay later specifically, and fintech. Then fintech.
Finance, no.
Finance no. Probably not. And then energy is another big one, and then also those. I don't know. I know exactly what you're describing. Those kind of like IoT solutions for helping maybe older, like the older generation. Like there's some mobility things that I think are exciting that some of our clients are working on. Yeah, I agree. I think those are there definitely places to look out to if you are looking for work, if you are looking to come to Japan. Definitely check those industries.
And cloud. Let's not forget cloud, because if you need to have dual capability to work from office and from home, you need more space in storage on servers everywhere. Cloud will be continuing growing, though we have recently saw stagnation when it comes to AWS, but Google Cloud has been growing. Azure recently as well, though, and some local players as well. So I'm seeing trends that will going to continue. Though, if you are interested working, what markets should be avoided, and this is just my personal opinion. I might be wrong. Is video conferencing systems like Zoom and so on. That market is saturated.
Yeah, I think you're right.
At the moment, like they need to stabilize, and then will be, once things crystallizes, which players would be suitable for the market. That's good. Also, those like tools that are like co-projects, like Asana, and others like recently have been also struggling, affected. Unfortunately, we have Monday.com. All those similar
kind of
products. That I'm not sure.
It kind of gives you. It leads to another question. For you, in your opinion, have you seen a difference between how global players are affected versus how local players have been affected in any particular industry?
Definitely. I mean, you know, if you're a foreigner and you want to come to Japan to buy things, now is a good time, because Japanese yen, it's weak compared to USD and other currencies. In the same time, all those companies that have businesses here for years, they experience lower profitability rates because of that exchange rate itself. So even if you're successful in Japan and you're sending money back to headquarters, they will be getting less money than before. So that has been struggle, and for that reason, I believe Q2, Q3 next year, when things are more predictable globally, that's how it's affected, like global business to Japan, and some businesses pulled out, some businesses laid off people, but that was, I would say, primarily the reason.
Have you seen more of those, like have you seen the domestic players maybe stay stable throughout the kind of change? Yeah.
That has been actually the case. Like domestic companies or those ones that are independent from their like franchise type of companies, they have not been affected that much because they don't care about exchange rate, because inflation rate in Japan is quite low.
Stable,
and stable. So they business as usual, and I believe it will grow even more.
So touching on the inflation, have you seen that affect salary ranges? I know that in our line of work, we kind of do work with a lot of candidates who are coming from overseas. Has that affected? Have the salary ranges been affected or changed at all throughout like the second half of the year? Or what have we seen there?
I would say not so much, honestly, because Japan market, we are cautious here, and this might not be for foreign engineers coming to Japan and saying like, oh, I have here this much money. If I come to Japan, I'm going to lose. Yes, that's currently the case, but later on, once the Japanese yen recovers, you will be in better situation. Though companies are not increasing the salaries, and I think that's smart. At the moment,
they're cautious.
They're cautious. In this moment, you don't want to just pump in more or inflate. That will increase in salary. Actually, Japan, compared to many other economies, is fighting inflation quite opposite. They are decreasing the salaries, but that's more entry type of salaries and than anything else. So that would be the case. And by the way, so one important aspect, in April, we are going to have change of new governor of Japan National Bank will be appointed. Because the current one had a loose fiscal and monetary policy. Sorry for those geek financial terms, but that has been the case. What it means, current governor doesn't want to increase interest rates, what we saw in US. So the new governor that will be appointed, the rumor is, still is rumor, but I believe it's correct, is that it will increase somewhat interest rates, which will stabilize fiscal and monetary policy in terms of the value of the yen. So, if you're having your dollars, soon change them to yen.
Yeah. Spend them in yen now and then save them. So and so you kind of alluded to maybe being a foreign engineer, moving to Japan. What were maybe some of the differences between how the commercial side of things? So just to let everyone know, at Wahl+Case, we kind of have two sides of the business. We have the technical side, which generally work with engineers, creatives, developers, back end, front end. Then we also have the commercial side, sales and marketing positions throughout fintech. And all of our teams work in all the fintech. Ad tech, fintech, enterprise tech, and
consumer technology.
Yes, thank you. Probably. Travel is kind of included there as well.
OTA,
and so what were maybe some of the differences you saw on those commercial side versus technical side?
Okay, differences. Like you always need engineers, but definitely when it comes to various product development. But in time of crisis, first things, sales is important. You need to continue that sales and marketing. Though we noticed that companies want now more local engineers. So that's one of the things. And maybe you can ask some of our engineering side more about that. That would be a good question to see. On the sales side, we experienced a little bit stagnation in Q3. Q4, it's like recovery. So I believe that recovery will be also in Q1 and Q2 for that segment. OTAs.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Yes.
To jump into that, like Expedia, Booking.com, and others.
Give me 1 second. Let me just say. So just in case you haven't heard, Japan opened its borders in October, and so there is travel to Japan. The borders are open, and so we're kind of going to touch on that, how that's been affecting and how that's affected the market. So
definitely, so we can go out of the country and never come back.
Yeah,
No,
escape.
like we can come back, but it's like others can come in with, which really, if you've been here during Olympics, that was sad. It was only us.
Yeah. Just me and Milo.
Yeah, it's only two of us.
The whole stadium.
Yeah, whole stadium. No, but now seeing all those faces popping up, that's really something remarkable. However, I don't think many predicted this will have a big boom and boost to Japanese economy. I think it will have mild.
Yeah.
Like, let's not forget, in other parts of the world there is crisis. Like, they don't think so much
exactly.
like I'm going to come for skiing, but there is improvement, and I believe that OTA is experiencing recovery, which is good. Those companies like Agoda, Booking.com, Rakuten Travel, as well as Hotels.com, all those that we also been working. So if you want to apply for those jobs, come to us.
Yes, please reach out.
But not as much, like I would say 20-30% lower than it was expected.
Yeah, I think they missed that window for the Olympics. You know, that was like going to be a big driver for travel, and then the World Cup is happening now, and so not so much hype, I think, around Japan. But I do think that it'll be a trickle. It'll grow over time, of course, as people get more comfortable spending, get more comfortable traveling. So I do think it is exciting.
We have most quality snow here. Like it's perfect. If you're snowboarding or skiing, come here. Like our colleague Victor behind here, we can test.
Producer Victor. I mean so. That's generally most of the topics I wanted to cover. One thing I do want to say is that we just hit 1,000 subscribers on YouTube, so thank you all so much for sticking with us.
10 people are watching us right now.
And on TikTok, we appreciate you guys being here. We will have Japanese streams in the future on TikTok. I know that most of our audience there is Japanese. And so, any closing thoughts, Milos, on 2022? Anything you want? Final thoughts, final words, predictions? Anything you want to put out there?
Yeah, I would say like take a sleeping pill, and wake up, and 2023 will come. And no, that would be definitely like.
Please don't do that. We're being clear. Don't do that. No lie. We really don't do it.
No, I would say like there is a Chinese proverb or curse, depends how you take it, like may you live in interesting times, and definitely we are living in interesting times. So enjoy while the ride goes. So let's continue this. I'm excited to see what's next year will bring.
I agree. Happy holidays, and thank you so much again. I'm Brian Rios from Wahl+Case. That's Chad Lafferty, and this is Milos Traffic.